If God was a good God, then why is it the world is so full of misery and trauma? I mean, why didn't he make it a happy world full of lollipops and unicorns and rainbows? The world is not perfect. And if you're asking yourself that question as to why, well, you're not on your own. This question was also asked over 2,000 years ago by a group of people that we now call the Gnostics. And this is what they came up with. So what is Gnosticism? Well, the clue's in the name. The word gnosis is Greek for knowledge, and as Greek thought and philosophy trickled into the Judaic world, it left questions, and some argued that it brought answers to, and those in search of true knowledge and true wisdom began to blend the two things together to provide answers to the questions they had about their religious beliefs. So what's really key here is that the Gnostics came to the conclusion that the true path to spirituality was through knowledge, not just through faith. And it's this pursuit of knowledge and the truth that became the core concept of Gnosticism. So now that we've got a base idea of what Gnosticism is and how it originated, let's now dig into just exactly what is gnosis. So I think the best place to start here is with the creation story and the story of Sophia and the Demiurge. At the beginning of everything was the all, the realm of divine fullness, and the place where the true God and the Aeons resided. This place they called the Pleroma, and the Aeons, well, they were the emanations and the aspects of the true God. Now everything in the Pleroma is perfect, harmonious, and purely spiritual. Now one of these Aeons, the Aeon of wisdom, and known as Sophia, well, this Aeon wished to know the true God directly. Or perhaps it's better to say she wanted to know what it was like to be the true God, and she decided she'd try her hand at the process of creation. Now her desire and her acts were genuinely pure, but acts taken without consent from the Pleroma lead to a break and an imbalance in the divine plan. And so Sophia's independent action leads to the creation of the Demiurge, the creator of the material universe. Now this Demiurge is completely ignorant of any other levels of creation, and he believes himself to be the highest level of divinity, the sole God, the one God, and the creator of everything. The Demiurge creates matter, the cosmos, and of course, human beings. However, the world he creates is flawed and limiting, and this is because it was created outside of the true divine plan and through the ignorance of the Demiurge himself. However, humanity itself carries fragments of Sophia's divine spark, and these fragments of divinity are trapped in the material world, along with humanity itself. The Demiurge, also known as Yaldabaoth, is supported by beings called Archons, and the role of these Archons is to maintain ignorance amongst the humans and make sure that they prevent them from knowing their true divine origins. But as we said earlier, every human being has within them a spark of Sophia's light, and this spark is a fragment of the true God and the whole purpose of gnosis. is to awaken the spark, realize and understand the truth of the true God, and return this spark back to the Pleroma. And so that was Sophia's downfall. But Sophia rises again with every spark that's returned back to the Pleroma through the awakening of every individual human being. And that story of the fall and rise of Sophia and the Demiurge and the creation of the material world, I think, covers all of the base concepts of Gnosis. We spoke of the meaning of Gnosis and the true God, and we understood what the Pleroma was, and we explained and spoke about the Aeons and the emanations of the divine, and we spoke of Sophia, the Aeon of wisdom, whose acts led to the creation of the Demiurge and the flawed cosmos, and we spoke of the Demiurge, the creator of the material world, and we spoke of his helpers, the Archons, the rulers who serve the Demiurge, and whose purpose is to keep humanity in ignorance. We heard how every human being carries this divine spark, waiting to be awoken, and through awakening, this spark ascends back to the Pleroma. So I think the only question to answer now is, how do you understand more? How do you study Gnosis? Well, there is no one book or Bible that teaches you everything there is to know about Gnosis. The whole idea is to seek out knowledge, truth, and an understanding of spirituality. Most of the texts and writings of the Gnostics were destroyed by other religious factions throughout the ages. But there is one set of texts that were written by the Gnostics that were discovered in 1945 in a place called Nag Hammadi in Egypt. These texts were written somewhere between the 2nd and 4th century of the Common Era, and it contains over 50 Gnostic works, many of which were previously unknown. And this finally gives us first-hand the Gnostic writings in their own words, rather than having us rely on the hostile teachings of other factions that saw the Gnostic ideas as heresy. But the Nag Hammadi codices is not the only place where you can find the information. Much of the Gnostic beliefs are heavily influenced by Hellenistic and Hermetic philosophy. So there's much to be learned from books like the Corpus Hermeticum, which is perhaps one of the most central texts on Hermetic philosophy, and also, of course, the writings of Plato, and the latter followers and scholars of Neoplatonism, who discuss concepts such as the One, the emanations, and the ascent to the soul. So that's the basis of Gnosticism for you, and I hope that you all managed to find something interesting in that. And if you did, don't forget the old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And with that, I'll see you again very soon on the next one.